many kids in New York are born without the intellectual potential to do algebra or to do any high-level things. You don't want to live in the real world where an enormous number of kids are born without that potential because it's not comfortable for you because you're a good guy. You want to live in a fantasy world. Everybody can be taught to read. You're silly, Jules. You're childlike.
Hey, let me ask you a quick question, Domingo. Let me ask a quick question. Sorry, Jules. Now, it seems like you're implying that being Asian means that you have innate aptitude to be a high academic performer. And I'm just kind of curious if you consider cultural, norms and that actually playing into the kind of aptitude that would take for algebra or higher level mathematics and stuff like that. I mean, are you trying to say that Asians are just innately have higher IQ? And maybe that's backed up by studies. I'm just kind of curious for you to clarify your. Could I be heard? Sorry. If not, Jules, go ahead. Sorry. Maybe he didn't hear me.
No, I liked that question to be answered. Domingo, answer that question.
Yeah, did you hear that, Domingo? Can I get an answer on that? Maybe he's pulling up some sources or something.
Well, I don't know what he's doing, but what he said about me is incorrect, except the good parts, of course.
Chicago Goofies.
Potentials there for every race, every religion, every group, every sex. Doesn't mean everyone is equal. Will reach equal potential. It doesn't mean everybody's just as smart as everybody else. And yes, Eric, there is cultural differences, I think. It depends on the parents, it depends on your culture, it depends on a lot of things, and it depends who your friends are. There's so much that goes involved, but I like people to reach their potential. That's all I'm saying. Domingo knows that. I don't look at Domingo's skin color and make any judgments on that. It's silly. It's stupid to make judgments based on skin color. But there is such a thing as cultures, and cultures promote certain things also, and that can't be ignored. But to make stereotype judgments, I think is foolish.
Well, I'll respond very succinctly. I think you're a good guy, but let me explain why I believe that you're not being truthful. I'm saying this with love and respect. If you were in a room, Jules, if you were in a room with women who were really, really, really fat, like 400 pounds fat, and then these fat women all said, I've heard rumors that men like you consider skinny women to be more beautiful than fat women like me. You would lie through your teeth because you're a nice guy. You don't want to hurt the feelings of all the fat women around you, Jules. So you would never in a million years look them in the eye and say, I'm really got bad news for you. Men find women who are under 200 pounds more attractive than women over. You would lie through your teeth because you're a good guy, and that's what you're doing. No, why don't you let me finish? Why don't you let me finish? No, let me finish.
You're 100%.
That's what I believe about you. You're not going to change my view. You're not going to change my view.
No, your view is 100% wrong. I am a good guy, and I would tell the truth because I'm a good guy. That's where you're 100% wrong.
I don't believe. I'll tell you straight up. I don't believe you. And I'll tell you something else. I think that's what you're doing. I think that's what you're doing about intelligence. You're such a good guy that you're lying about intelligence. That's how I feel about you.
That's
the God's honest truth. Okay.
Then
why don't we change the subject?
Tell me one lie.
Kick me off the stage. Kick me off the stage and change the subject. Everyone is bored with this bullshit. No one cares.
Tell me one lie I said about intelligence that I'm lying to myself. Tell me the lie that I'm saying to myself.
I'm not willing to do it. But read the links I put in the ring chat.
You can't do it.
Of course, you're more honest than I am. You're more honest than I am. You're more ethical than I am. You're a nicer guy than I am.
I probably am.
I freely admit it. Okay, thank you.
You don't want to be honest about it. Unbelievable, right? Unbelievable.
This is my kingdom.
Come back up.
I'm not going to. Please don't scroll. Please don't
Come back
scroll.
up, Domingo. I like how you just do
Please
that.
don't.
Stereotyping and bullshitting and telling me what my solution is. I'd be in a room with fat women and I would tell them how great it is to be fat. Isn't that, you couldn't do better than that, Domingo.
Jules,
Better than that.
Jules, you know, we're going into Thanksgiving and it's important to experience joy on this app as opposed to conflict. So take the deepest breath of the day. Are you even breathing, Jules? I'm
I'm
breathing.
gonna do it.
Are you
I'm gonna
alive?
do it, Julie. Let me do it right now.
And Michaela, I'm sorry for giving you a hard time, but you know, I got to push back on a lot of the things you said because, you know, I don't want you living in my brain rent free when I don't agree with you. And that to me is one of the points of this app is that if we're patient with one another, we can say what we want to say. And, you know, I had to talk over you. My point is listening is a more difficult skill than speaking on this app. And many people who speak are terrible listeners. So there's a lot of issues in communication, but patience and love and kindness and respect is really the defining characteristics of a good speaker and a listener. I am complete.
That's a great comment. I make mistakes speaking out too much also. Why people like Dominguez shouldn't think he knows me is because I know myself better. And I know what's true and not true about myself. And also everybody has their own individual beliefs that they don't expose fully, you know, on a shitty thing like this, like Clubhouse. You don't know me. That's all I'm saying. And you can't, I don't know you. I don't know Eric. I hear parts of Eric. And Joy, I criticized you, but I don't know you. I don't know you. You guys know each other.
Nobody knows. Everybody's too lazy to even want to figure anything out about somebody. The point is, if you are polite in conversation and you're a nice person, you will let other people speak. And it's a flow of conversation. Somebody who dominates it by rambling and not really giving anybody meat and potatoes is really wasting their time and everybody else's time. I like what Domingo says. He says he travels the country and looks at his investments. The man is clearly not a dummy. And if he's a legitimate person and he can show his LinkedIn, you might have a little more respect for Domingo and let him get his intelligence and information off. Instead, I got to say, Jules, you don't know how to mod a room. You know, the whole point about a room is basically to be the professor in a classroom and mute people when they need to be muted and goo them when they need to be gooed and really present a curriculum or a syllabus. And unfortunately, you know, that's fine what you're doing, but, you know, that's the way a real room should be led. It should be led like an academic, collegiate, intelligent room, unless it's just some type of friendly room. But I'm a Toastmaster, and, you know, if you know informative or persuasive speaking, or just you've ever sat in a college classroom, you appreciate how a college classroom is run because it's run for the benefit of everybody in the room.
I didn't know this was a college. First of all, I'm a mod because everybody else left. Second of all, there's no rules or regulations how a fucking room should be run. There's no rules. You set up your own rules.
I know, but you didn't.
I don't even want to be moderator.
I get it, but I'm just giving you my opinion of how I enjoy the experience here on the app. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. So why don't you lead the room? Pick a discussion, or maybe I'll close it down.
I mean, I want to read a poem to the room. I wanted to talk about technology and linguistics, but you kicked me to the goo. So, you know, it's on you. Buff on goo.
Don't you think that would be a little bit more interesting if you took your happy ass to ChatGPT and had it write a poem in this conversation? I think that would be cool. You know, prompt it based on the poet that you're trying to reach us with.
No, I mean, I can read you a very small poem and you'll be like, yeah, that's beautiful and incredibly intelligent. And unfortunately, you get a lot of atheists on this app that don't even touch books. They don't look at poetry. They've never read a poem, apparently. They're only interested in wasting everybody's time with, useless utility stupidity. I mean, let's be honest, a lot of stupid people on this app are atheists because they don't like love. They don't like the enjoyment of God and the poetry of the books. They're just sour people full of sour grapes. A lot of really uneducated people are unhappy because they've never read good books.
So you're
Felt
talking about
love before.
uneducated atheists? Is that what you're saying?
Listen, you could go to another room and go listen to some guy in Peru reading to you the God Delusion. He sounds like he's about to blow his brains out while he's driving a pickup truck to go to some construction site. I got to tell you, I like Christopher Hitchens and his brother, but I got to say, if you're the problem is you have to admit that there's a commercialization of atheism and a commercialization of spirituality, which you have to be observant of and know that all communication is hypnosis. It's a business to put out books and to create content and podcasts about atheism and about disputing atheists and Christians in the Midwest who are still Protestants. Listen, there's a lot of psycho Protestants, and they are queers, and they are, that one guy, Tim Haggard, do you remember him? I saw him on a plane. I started taking pictures of him because he was in the news. He went ballistic on the plane. The guy was so uptight, but he was having sex with young boys and smoking crack in the church's office. So, anyways, the point is, this is a great app, but it uses you or you use it. And there's so many ways to utilize the app. I think you should use it like a college classroom. Again, that's just my opinion.
I've been away from college for a while. What's college classroom today? College classrooms today are a lot like the shit you just mentioned. That's how I view college classrooms today.
Well, I went to a very nice military academy, and I assure you that it's still being run in the exact same manner that it was run when I was there. And in fact, it's probably gotten better. But it's fully integrated. In 1996, they didn't have women that went to my college. Now women are fully integrated.
Was it in Indiana? Was it in Indiana?
No, it's the Citadel in Charleston, South Carolina.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But you're talking about, what about the Ivy Leagues today?
Well, have you ever met somebody who went to the Ivy Leagues and then you weren't impressed? That's where you're at today.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And I hate to say that there's a lot of affirmative action and social equity that goes on in the recruitment process as well as the approval process for a lot of people that go to a lot of schools. But the liberal wokes that are running the institutions today and are making the administrative decisions within these organizations, they are bringing in less than caliber candidates. But the problem is later on in life, a lot of people have legal problems or they solve their legal problems. You see, I'm just trying to say that there's not a speck of dust out of place in the universe because miracles do happen with social equity.
I want to interrupt real quick. You probably don't want to mod Joyce. Sorry, buddy, but Roger's going to be pissed when he finds out. But also, let's bring up Cool C as well, please. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm a mod, and I hate to tell you that, I am Roger Mayhem. You can go to rogermayhem.com if you like. It'll take you to my website. I am Roger Mayhem. A lot of people don't know this, but
Where you go? Joe?
Guys, look, it's just a beautiful day in America. I'm trying to do a Thanksgiving thing.
Yeah, I'm just wasting time.
I have no more desire for this room, so I'm going to boom the room.
Anybody want to come up and talk about anything? And
all right, Jules, you go ahead and keep going, buddy. I'm going to take off out of here. Why don't you send me the audience there?
yeah, I'm probably going to go to. Anybody want to come up and speak and talk about anything? Dominguez, you want to come up and argue with me a little, or talk friendly with me?
He gone. Run,
Raise
witches.
your hand. Come on up.
Go ahead, give it to him, Midas.
Want to ask me any tax questions? Ha
I should have moved his ass to the goo.
Nobody wants to talk. Joy, come on up. Come on back. Joy, you're making a lot of sense. on up, Jewel.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. You can kick me to the goo if you don't like what I'm saying or if you think my tone is obnoxious. But, at least if you're an intelligent person, you should be able to debate what I'm saying. I mean, you don't have to take notes, but everybody knows that there's a lot of people that have gone through a lot of institutions that should not have been there, but they were there because of their color of their skin. And so in the Constitution, that's actually prevented. And so we have a bunch of employees, the millions of American workers working for the federal government, eating at the public trough. They're not really providing any value. There is no return on investment on their actual jobs. Unfortunately, according to the Constitution, the only agency permitted is the Census Bureau. Our CIA, our FBI, our NSA, our Geospatial Defense Force, our Space Force, our Air Force, our Army, our Navy, our National Guard, and 350 other federal agencies are funded to the tune of how much? What, $4 trillion a year Congress is spending? And the IRS is bringing in $2 trillion. Jules, you and I know that this is an unsustainable bank. And the Federal Reserve, in fact, what we should be doing is we should eliminate the IRS and just borrow from the Federal Reserve and bankrupt the Federal Reserve. That would be the logical America first, MAGA first position.
I agree with you, but you're not bringing joy like you say you're going to do. But I agree with you. You're right. We're in such bad shape now. I don't know about, I don't believe in getting rid of the IRS, but I think they should more or less examine the Treasury funds, where it's going and how it's going and who it's going to and how much is left over, how much should come back. They should redirect the IRS, not on small businesses, not on large corporations, which really shouldn't pay that much tax at all because it's consumer.
Well, you worked for Commissioner Rettig. Did you ever meet the man?
I don't think so.
Well,
what years was he there?
He was there for the past 4 years.
I'm long retired.
Oh, well, anyways, listen, what are you doing for Thanksgiving, Jules?
Quiet, me and my wife, quiet Thanksgiving dinner.
Listen, I mean, the way that your life has turned out, you have a wife, you have a nice quiet dinner, you have a son. I mean, you lived the American dream, did you not? And that's what you wish for other people. Doesn't everybody wish for the same thing that you have in your life, which is like completeness and security?
But completeness and security are defined by people differently than I define it, and you define it.
But there's a generalized baseline that we could all agree that there's a standard of living and a reasonable amount of work that the average American should have to exert for a reasonable standard of living. The problem is there's a class difference between some people, but for the most part, everybody has the same standard of living. People want a 2-bedroom, a 3-bedroom. They want a bath, a 2-bath. They want, they don't want to be harassed. Anyways, I mean, I just like the saying, there's not a speck of dust out of place in the whole universe.
I got your philosophy. I have some health issues, and that's the issue now. So when everything looks rosy, I think I have everything I want in life, but I have health issues. That kind of fucks things up, I don't want to get personal on here, but.
Well, the only thing you can listen, there's variables that you can adjust for your health, but, I mean, you don't want to get into that. Nobody wants to talk about. I mean, you want to talk about yoga and stretching and doing a hip rotation and a hamstring pull with a rope. I mean, I do yoga every day. I go to the gym. Huh?
You're right. Stay in shape. There's preventative stuff you can do, and that's great. You could eat the right foods, do exercise, live a clear life.
Your problem is mobility. Everybody ends up with mobility issues, and yoga and stretching and doing work on the floor on a cushion, that kind of stuff, you can let gravity do a lot of the work biomechanically. Right. So hip rotations, hamstring pulls, it's fundamental and essential, and you don't have to have strength to even do it because you're just rotating and letting gravity do the pull.
And how many people know that? You know, you're right. You're right. You're right.
You played basketball. You were an athlete. You stretched. But the problem is, it's like you come on Clubhouse and you want to talk about people's bigotry, but you should be doing a hip rotation. And, you know, I got to say, I mean, people, it's an opportunity cost to come here. It's an opportunity cost to listen to people.
How do you know I played basketball?
Because I just know your type, and I know a lot of guys who are sitting in hospice or sitting in a nursing home, and I told them for the past 10 years, you got to go down to the gym and you got to start rotation, you got to start doing yoga, you got to start touching your toes, you got to start doing breathing exercises, get away from your cell phone, get away from your typewriter and your computer, get away from your TV, stop the communication hypnosis and go to the gym and just go stretch and be away from your cell phone, be away from all the communication that's constantly getting into your ears and your eyes, and go stretch and go breathe. You know, that's it. It's not lifting weights and it's not even cardio. It's just stretching.
Good advice. Good advice. Good advice. I got friends that tell me that same thing also, you know. You're not the only one.
People practice this because you have to be comfortable, you know, doing, but it's a daily routine. It's a muscle memory event.
Right. Can't argue with you on that. Anybody want to come up? We want to end the room. We want to keep going with the room. Come on, Dominguez, come up. Oh, Father's up there. What do you have to say? I couldn't hear you. Go ahead.
I've got my headphones on. Hang on a minute.
You know, look at the word America. What does that word even means? It means, am I rich? You know, rich with love or rich with material assets and health problems. We all have a mortality issue from birth. You know, but you're born penniless and you die penniless. And what you take from the trough or what you put in or what gets stolen as an American with a birthright and a historical legacy, and basically the Constitution being really the spirit and the soul of this country's psychology, you have to consider what your government is doing in comparison to the Constitution, which is our law, which is pervaded and stripped and destroyed and cheated and lied upon day in and day out in courtrooms across this country, at agencies across this country. Everybody is complicit in the trough feeding frenzy. I hate to admit it.
Do you think beyond repair? I think we might be beyond repair.
I don't know. I mean, the thing is, you have to go back to the concept that there's not a speck of dust out of place in the universe. You know, the problem is that we are funding a massive jobs program by borrowing from the Federal Reserve. And so unless we can actually legally separate from the Federal Reserve, they will own the Treasury, they will own the IRS, they will own the CIA, they will own every federal agency, and they already do because the Congress is owned by the Federal Reserve. It's a sympathetic parasitic system where they say, you give us the vote and we'll give you the tools and the mechanisms to do what your vote tells you to do. But we don't actually have to obey your orders or commands. We're an independent organization, and we don't even have to step down and do what the president tells us to do. We're a global banking monopoly. The USA is not our only franchise. So explain that to me. I mean, there is a problem with the Federal Reserve Act, with our Constitution, with the debt, with the agencies, and then with corporate capture. So the system is so vast and huge that to go backwards or to take any oil out of the machine would be catastrophic. So I'm not in favor of any drastic changes, but I'm just trying to accurately point out that we are living in a giant decentralized, fully functioning environment However, the big criticism really, if you're a moralist, is the military industrial complex and regime changes, because at $40 trillion, that means that other regimes will have to change whether you like false flags or not. And the regime change business is not going out of business, and it's a business. And there are people that know how to regime change, and the CIA is not going to get defunded. So I'm just trying to accurately describe how I observe the situation.
So what you're saying, it's not going to change for the better?
Probably not, because
Right?
I'm generally a pessimist when it comes to earnings releases on the stock market. Many people are always optimistic. They love their racehorse. Then they get the proof and you're like, oh, fuck, this didn't turn. And then your stock crashes and you make money on your put option. So, I mean, I would start a hedge fund dedicated completely to put options, but that's just me. But I'm also an eternal optimist in the sense that I get the feeling that our lives are like a computer system. And when you turn it off and you reset it and you do the hard reboot, it does come back on again. So it's an on again and an off again system, is what Alan Watts, I've heard him say. So there's a universal hypothesis about religion, psychology, economy, ecology, etc. So the problem is, but we're living in this radical, liberal, cultural, Marxist mass communication hypnosis controlled by the authority board, aka Meta and Google and Microsoft. So real education will probably be taking place on apps like this. Societies will become parallel breakaway societies. I think Elon Musk, for example, his employees, his community, he's running it like he's a Mormon missionary, with 5 wives and 20 kids in a compound in Austin, Texas. So you'll have gated community societies, and that's what you already have. So that's why I say there's not a speck of dust out of place in the universe. But the gated gated societies are hypocrites, because they're in gated societies with people that live in mass cities like Chicago, New York, Atlanta, Miami, etc., Los Angeles, etc. They are exposed to dangerous, homeless populations. There's countless stories of, anyways, life is a tragedy. It's a comedy. Be safe. God bless America, and happy Thanksgiving.
You're right. You're right, man.
It's kind of funny because, you talk about gated communities. Well, the United States is not a gated community anymore, so.
Well, we extended the gates. We extended the gates. Joy has the right idea. He knows what's going on. Yeah,
well,
I can't.
And what's it going to take for the United States to be, unity again? Obviously
not in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Not in my lifetime. By the way, Joy makes so much sense that I'm thinking of just getting the fuck out of talking about politics altogether and just live my life and, stop the bullshit that goes on. And,
people do that. Look, you're playing a guitar and people do drop out of the conversation, and they do get out of politics. They just play music, they do meditation, they do artwork, they do film, or they do their political activities through subversive film. So it's really a question of creativity.
They're still doing politics,
I know, but you can work it into your artwork, which makes it more political and less time intensive. This app is a drain on the brain. It's not necessarily an add to the brain. It's a drain on your brain.
You're right. I had to be home today, and that's the only reason why I came on during the day. I usually come on at night, but sometimes. You're right. You make a lot of sense, Troy. You came on fucking around, fooling around, starting up with people. But, when you got down to the nitty gritty, you make a lot of sense. And you're an intelligent guy. And,
but so does what's-his-face, the previous speaker. He likes to say, you're interrupting me. I will be succinct. He actually is so libertarian And he's so absolutely right. But in the economic environment we're in, we could fuck ourselves, or we could just let shit roll downhill. I say let shit roll downhill. And you and I know shit does roll downhill.
Very fast.
Hey, Jules. Hey, Jules.
Hey. Hey, Matt.
Do you need some help? I was called in, requested. I don't know, there's something going on, but just checking to make sure everything's good.
What's this about?
I don't know, man. I'm not going to mention any names, but I just didn't know if there was if you needed help with any modding or something.
I'm not a mod. All of a sudden, I was thrown into the mod land, you know? And then people are telling me I got to teach this like a college class. And, you know, and then other people come up and say, I'm going to say who the real you is. And people don't know me. It's such bullshit. This whole thing is bullshit. So I appreciate you coming up, Matt. And you want to take a shot at me. I don't care. I don't give a shit. You know, take a shot at me. Joy was just talking, made a lot of sense and everything. He settled down and really, really made sense. And is a good man. It was good to hear from him. So come in and help, Matt. What do you want to say? Go ahead.
Oh no, I didn't have much to say. I was just checking on your sanity, making sure everything's good in this room. I was actually the modding, and I pulled myself out of that.
What do you view yourself as, like the arbitrator or like, you know, the moderator that brings equilibrium to the room or something, Matt?
Yes, Joy, I do consider myself the equilibrium and the balance to the powers that be in the room. I am the head moderator of Clubhouse.
So you think you're gonna come in Roger's house and tell Roger's business?
Yes.
Wow, that's a bold claim, Matt. Wow. Did somebody send you an SOS or like an ABP or ASAP? Like, how did you get here, Matt? It's amazing.
I had a Roger bat signal in the sky. Like, he had little cigar and his little face on there.
Yeah, I saw that too last night in the sky. An RM, it had a cigar, a bald head, a guy with a chain on his and a big mustache.
Let me tell you, Roger is quite a person. You know, at first I didn't like him, but he kind of grew on me. He's a really cool guy. I love sarcasm. He's sarcastic, you know, and he's pretty accurate. And he made me do some research, Roger. I'm going to bring this up. Maybe you could bring this back to Roger. Let me see, where is it? I wrote this down. I didn't want to start with him before he was on. He said to me, yesterday, we were discussing, you could bring this back to him. We were discussing, I talked about women boxing in the Olympics and men beating the shit out of them. And Roger said to me, it's not true. It's not true. The boxes were really women. And that was that. So I decided this morning, I'm going to look up this shit. And the two boxers, Lin Yu Ting and Emaine Kahelif, were cleared to fight in the Olympics.
Don't trust the news.
But the International Boxing Association did not let them box
CBS
because
News
they had
Chicago
XY
in the
chromosomes.
comments.
It meant
Chicago Tribune,
Roger said, no,
Sun-Times,
they weren't.
because
So I was going to argue
in
with him
Chicago
today about
last
that.
night,
Not really argue,
in
just tell him
front
I
of
did some
Trump
research about it.
Tower, there
And,
was a truck that
I still
pulled
have my
up,
beliefs about that.
and on one side of the truck it
ass in
said
the Olympics or any place else.
Jesus. On the other side of the truck
So,
it said
we can
Trump.
get back to
And
Roger on that.
the
if you
man
want
that was
to.
driving the truck blocked the entire
If
street,
they
so
were women,
no
fine.
incoming
Women
or
could beat the shit
outgoing
out of
traffic
women,
could
but
get through.
Men shouldn't be beating the shit out of women.
Here we go.
Who's coming in? Agent, what do you have to say about that? Anything?
Sorry, I just came in the room. What was the question?
No, I was just talking to Matt about something that Roger, who owns the room, was debating with me or talking about yesterday. women in the Olympics. And there's another thing, another topic I brought up yesterday, and I just did some more research on. Any of you guys familiar with, oh boy, I want to leave this room, but now you got me talking. Any of you guys familiar with the Jordan Neely case? Jordan Neely was a homeless guy that went on the subways in New York and was intimidating people, threatening people. And this guy Penny got him in a chokehold and killed him. Yeah. Well, you know, it wasn't Roger, but I got a lot of shit from people. You know, I think Penny should be clear of killing him. It's second-degree manslaughter. We weren't sure of the charge. This guy came on, Jordan Neely. He had an extensive criminal record, 42 arrests. Let's see, what else did he do? He also 3 unprovoked assaults on women in the subways from 2019, 2021. He was a psychotic. He had schizophrenia. He had schizophrenia. And he had drugs in him, synthetic marijuana, K2, and he was threatening people, yelling, he's ready, quote, I'm ready to die, and quote, that he would kill a motherfucker, and people got really scared, and this ex-Marine, I said ex-Marine, I meant Marine, because you're never an ex-Marine, put him in a chokehold to try to control him. People were scared shit. And now he's on trial for murder. So, second-degree manslaughter, actually. So we were talking about that, too, yesterday.
Jules, for this housekeeping, can you bring Eric back up here, too? I think Eric, he's in the audience there. I think he put his hand up. He wants to come up.
Oh,
Just to piggyback on what you're saying there, I agree. I think this puts a little damper on people actually looking out for other people, because everybody's going to be scared about doing anything.
That's right.
With a lot of the subway stuff that goes on, people just watch people get raped and beat up and don't do anything for just this reason, because they get charged and they get put in jail.
I agree with Matt here. I think a big mitigating factor is the absolute chaos, anarchy, actually anarcho-tyranny, and lack of basic law enforcement, basic public safety in New York. And I think, therefore, if someone's goes where people are basically captive in a subway car, and then starts literally saying he's willing to kill, he's going to kill people, and he's willing to die. He's suicidal, and he wants to do harm to people there. I think that restraining him is an act of self-defense in that moment, and an act of protection of the others being threatened. And I think he never should have been charged just on the self-defense basis. And then furthermore, it sets a very bad precedent that he was charged at all. But I get symbolically, maybe there's some race component that they're trying to mitigate for why they charged him. But I think,
that's exactly.
I'm okay. Let me say this: if this happened in Singapore or something, I would be very okay with him getting some kind of a charge. But because New York is an anarcho-tyranny, unsafe environment where the police cannot be depended on, you have to defer to law-abiding citizens more in their self-defense actions. Thank you, I'm done speaking.
It upset me yesterday. I was discussing some of the facts. I didn't know all the facts. This black woman, I thought she was making a racial thing. And there's racial components to it. I mean, the people threatened were blacks. So, I mean, the poor Jordan Neely, who's dead, wasn't like picking people out because of the color of their skin. He was schizophrenic. He was high on drugs, and he was going crazy. And you're right that what Daniel Penny did was something that won't happen again in the future if he's convicted. And people need all the help they can in the new. Believe me, I've been there, done that, and I don't like the subways one bit. Oh, Christian wants to come in to speak.
Well, I think it wasn't a matter of killing the guy, but he just wanted to control the guy. You know, he wanted to get him back down to reality. You know, but it's definitely hard to control a guy who is like that. So, you know, I mean, it's really one of those tough catch-22s where, you know, what do? You know, do you end up killing the guy, or do you end up just trying to control the guy just enough to, you know, until maybe the cops come or whatever like that, so they can arrest him and whatever, blah blah blah. But you know, so it's always kind of a tough decision to do when you got him in a chokehold, you know.
Yeah, and it gets well. Actually, the two other guys holding him down that weren't charged also, but it even gets more sticky. You know, from what I read in the trial, of course, the medical experts, one says he was choked to death, and another says he died because of his drugs and his schizophrenia. Caused him to die. So I'm not a medical person. I don't know. I've seen crazy people on drugs and whatever, and that could have caused him to die. I don't know. And then, of course, he could have been choked to death. That could have caused him to die, too. Whether that was justifiable or not remains to be seen. And I hate that they're making it a racist kind of thing when, you know, and I'm sure they picked a jury based on race. And this is the America we live in. We just want justice. We want the Constitution. Like Joy said, we have the Constitution. We have the rules have to be followed, and the chips fall where they may. And that's all I want from this case.
You know, every American is technically, they should be walking around with a pocket Constitution and a .38 stub nose fully loaded. That's your right as an American. And when somebody comes to bother you, that's your government. The greatest right that any government can afford its citizens is the right to be left alone. We need to be left alone in this country, and we all need to be issued guns and our pocket constitutions. Everything exterior to that is a perversion of your Constitution. That's my opinion. Literally, the Constitution is our souls.
Guys, I think this Joy guy is recording the room and broadcasting it on other platforms.
Don't project, Agent Malone. You're the agent recording the room, sending it to the FBI. Don't lie, agent. Stop spreading lies and misinformation. You're a disinformation agent. You're a liar. I know Jules. He worked at the IRS.
I mean, not that
you looked at my profile.
I mean, not that I care about owning guns and shit like that, but I mean, I wish I could have 38, you know, with me just on my belt.
You're being recorded. This will live on the internet. Anything you say.
Agent is recording the room. It's not me. I'm just Joy. Agent is the one suggesting this. I think he's the one recording the room. I'm sorry. Are you a censorship agent? What kind of a censor are you, Agent? Is this the type of censorship you practice? I don't practice censorship like you. You don't even believe in the Constitution, apparently, Agent. Freedom of speech. I hate to inform you, but you are violating.
Informing me of what? What have you informed?
Agent, inform us.
I think you took care of it, or you left, but I appreciate it.
No, I took care of it.
Hey, are you saying that you could locate and find a stream currently of the room?
Yeah, if you I don't pay attention to
one voice at a time. Hold on.
Don't follow him. No, you could if you spent your life like subscribing to this guy, but
So
I don't
what
have
you're
the
saying is
He's done it before. He's done it before.
So you're saying, okay, so I was just wanting to clarify that if you actually found a stream right now that it would behoove you to share with the room.
He's done it before. Like, what evidence do we have? He sits down in the audience, streaming the room.
wait, he's down in the audience.
Look, I know who he is.
He's still
He has the Jewish flag or the Ukrainian flag behind him. Recording rooms and putting them out and using them on podcasts later.
He's still there in the room. He's still recording.
Guys, I'm well aware of
letting you guys know. I would kick him from the room.
Oh,
Is he
God.
gonna
He's
pay
in the
me
audience.
for it?
I would.
Is he going to pay me for it?
He's
Am I gonna make
definitely
you money
not going
for
to
it?
pay you. You're the one who's going to
Whoa.
be paying for it. Dr. Jordan wants to sue him, by the way. So I would seriously remove.
Wants to do him like put a hit on him or like
Eric, if you keep this up, I'm going to request you be moved down. But I'm telling you,
Sue him.
Sue him. Everybody hates Edmund.
Although he coordinated with Hamas is what you're telling me.
Coordinated around. He used Hamas as a strategy. He coordinated around them. No, he did not coordinate with them. He coordinated around them. Yes, he did. He set it up. He knew Hamas was working on an attack. He knew Hamas was working on an attack. He knew Hamas was already at the borders. They were doing test runs. He knew about it. They all knew about it.
So whose fault was this then?
Netanyahu's in the government.
Who's going to attack either way? Whether Netanyahu knew about it or not, who was going to attack either way?
What does that mean? He knew about it or not? So he
Whether he knew about it or not. Potato, listen, I know your brains are a little mashed. I know you need to take a little moment to.
What do you mean? He knew about it. That means he was supposed to stop it. He was supposed to deploy all resources to stop it.
Listen
But
very
he didn't.
carefully.
He didn't want to stop it. He wanted it to happen.
Whether he knew it or
What part of that you don't get?
Whether he knew it or not, who was going to attack either way?
Let's be a little bit more considerate.
No, it doesn't work that way. The attack could have not worked out. No, exactly, because the attack could have been avoided.
You can't blame the Jews. Oh my God.
No, yeah, because they had all the resources to have stopped the plot. Netanyahu had all the resources to stop it. He didn't want to.
Okay, let's say he didn't want to, or let's say he did want to.
Here we go.
Or let's say he knew, or
There's no let's say he did it. No,
Hamas
he
going
did
to
it.
attack? Yes or no? Either way.
No, they would have not attacked if he would have
They
deployed
would
his
have not attacked
resources.
unless Netanyahu knew.
If Netanyahu would have deployed his resources, the resistance would have fell back and then went for another time.
Okay, but they were going to attack either way.
Yes, there was going to be an attack no matter what.
Okay, good.
Absolutely.
Okay, good. So it's their fault that they initiated the attack to begin with.
Yes, it's Netanyahu's fault and his government for not stopping the plot for October 7th. Yes.
And now we can to blame
And
for
coming with a new strategy. No, not they. Netanyahu and his government is the blame.
genocidal terrorist group that wants to destroy
That's the occupation force. They are the terrorists, and they're the ones who commit terrorist attacks.
Okay,
For
so resistance.
decades.
So
once again, you gotta use a straight brain when you talk to people who are smart like me. See,
bro,
the terrorists are Israel. The terrorists are people who put 700,000 new settlers. Terrorists are the people who kidnap innocent people from the West Bank and put them in detention. Those are the terrorists to me, not the other way around.
Great, you know what?
I think logically.
Okay, resistance. I can play this game too. We're not terrorists.
You can't play this game. No. How can y'all listen? Y'all occupation.
The IDF.
See, once again, you can't.
Hold on.
The world stage has said that Israel is an occupying force. You cannot be resisting anything. It's impossible. Only resist pedophilia, maybe a little.
The IDF for the last 76 years has been resisting Arab homicidal aggression towards Israel.
And Israelis are European homicidal pedophiles.
Alhamdulillah.
And Israelis are homicidal terrorists who commit pedophilia and kill innocent women and children.
Okay, so if we're terrorists, would you agree that we're still better than the
They can't be terrorists because
would you agree that we're still better than the
Palestinians? Once again.
Good, and you would admit that we're still better than the Palestinians?
Y'all can never. Y'all not better than anything.
Changing.
No. The only thing I can say that Israel is better at is pedophilia. Pedophilia is their thing.
We are better at doing terrorism than you.
You gotta be a little bit more factual with this. They're also fast on changing diapers. Okay, let's not.
Well, they spread the diaper rash around well. You're right.
Diaper rashes.
Of course, potatoes are for diapers, bro.
Hey,
I have Amazon Prime. Would you like me to send you a whole box of Pampers?
They definitely spread that diaper rash around.
Can you help me with this?
I know. Ludwig has to shit himself every time I answer.
Diaper rash.
Lenny was more criminal. I mean, absolutely, man. Got rid of all the Arab villages that were hostile. Yes, absolutely.
You gotta say Muslim to be because there was a creator one day.
No, I didn't say Muslim extremists.
Yes, those villages.
Muslim extremist doesn't even exist. It's either you're Muslim or you're not.
Doesn't sound reliable or factual.
No, there's no thing as Muslim extremist. Either you're Muslim or not. Either you're following Islam or you're not.
Well, technically, that is a made-up phrase and ideology that Israeli terrorists made up. Islamists and Muslim terrorists. When everyone knows you can't be a Muslim and
He's not a
terrorize.
Muslim terrorist. He's just a Muslim being a Muslim.
No, because Muslims are not allowed to terrorize. It doesn't make sense. It's not logical. No, wrong again.
He's following the tenets of Islam.
But now, an Israeli, in his natural state, an Israeli from the time of 1948 is naturally a colonizer. Everyone knows if you claim to be Israeli since 1948, you're a colonizer, a rapist, a killer, and a murderer. Because that's exactly what they did to inhabit the land.
I know that you're IQ.
No, you gotta deal with the facts.
Hold on.
You were talking about the Irgun, right?
Hold on, Palestine.
I just want to say.
Hold on.
No, just let me just mention about the Irgun.
One sec. So Resistance said colonizers. That we're the colonizers, right?
Yes.
There are currently, as right now as we speak, there are 50 Muslim countries, 22 Arab countries, and one Jewish country. And you want to call us the colonizers?
It's okay.
You want to call us because those Muslim countries were Muslim countries prior
The only reason that area became Arabized is because of colonization.
No, it's not. Wrong. Lies.